Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. Got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day and a new week comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. And this week, guys, is the final week of the NBA regular season. I know it's hard to believe, but next week, I believe next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, kicks off the NBA play-in tournament. So this is our last full week of regular season games until next year. From next week and on, every week you're going to get less and less games, less and less teams, so enjoy it while you still have it. With that being said, please be careful though, because this is one of those landmine weeks. There's a couple weeks during the NBA regular season where you have these landmine weeks, right? You've got, the first week of the season around the trade deadline, and then this week, because a lot of teams are either out of it or already have their spot clinched or don't really care if they win or lose because of positioning. So, kind of a landmine week for player props. Be cautious with what you bet, including my bets, of course. So yeah, my message is enjoy it while it lasts, but at the same time, be cautious. Don't go too crazy because this week can be a week that loses you a lot of units if you're not careful. I do have 3 player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's NBA slate. Just 2 games on tonight, only 3 player props to share. Let's not waste any time, guys. Let's dive right into today's picks. Jumping right into the Outlier screen, guys. Shout out to Outlier, the sponsor of today's video and all of my player prop videos here on the channel. We do offer a special link down below in the description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial. So go ahead and check Outlier out for yourself. All the information, all the data that you're going to see in today's video and all my player prop videos is brought to you guys by Outlier. Why not go ahead and check it out for yourself? I'm only giving you guys a little bit of what Outlier can provide. There's so much more. They cover every single sport. You've got MLB in full swing now, WNBA coming up. You got NBA, NHL playoffs, so many great categories, and they have information, insights into every single player prop and bet in the American sports, and even soccer too. So go ahead and check that out, guys. Link down below, 7-day free trial when you use that special link down below. Shout out to Outlier for sponsoring today's video. Our first player prop in today's slate comes from the Sixers Heat game, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We have 2 player props coming from this game. Our first one is Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat over 30.5 points plus assists. We're getting this one for -110 over on BetMGM, but it is available on multiple sportsbooks for varying odds. As always, guys, make sure to go ahead and shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. Very important when it comes to making money in sports betting is to shop around for the better odds. Now, this looks familiar. We did bet Tyler Hero on Saturday's video, but he did not end up playing, so that pick got voided. So we're going to go ahead and run it back here because I think this is also a very solid matchup for Tyler Hero. Now, from a data perspective, the recent data is pretty solid. The overall data, not so much. Look at the last 10 games. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over. They 70% hit rate, averaging 30.6 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. If we go ahead and narrow it down to the last 5 games, a 100% hit rate over his last 5 games, averaging 36.4 points plus assists per game over his last 5 games. So like I said, guys, the recent data very, very strong on this player prop. However, the further you go ahead and stretch the data out, the less impressive it becomes. Look at the overall numbers this year for Tyler Hero. Just a 45% hit rate on the season line. 33 out of 74 games he's cashed the over. Averaging 29.49 points plus assists per game overall this year. So like I said, the recent data seems to be pretty solid. The last 5 game, the last 10 game, even the last 20 game data, he has a 50% hit rate. But looking at the overall season numbers here for Tyler Hero, just a 45% hit rate, not very good. Now, looking at head-to-head data, he has a 50% hit rate over his last 6 matchups with Philly. He is averaging 31.33 points plus assists per game over those last 6 matchups. They played 3 times, though, this year. He's cashed the over 2 out of 3 times. That's some pretty big games when playing the Sixers. The last 2 times he's played, he cashed, and both times he scored exactly 37 points plus assists. Actually, the exact same line, 30.7 assists, 30 points and 7 assists. That last matchup was on March 29th, so a little over a week ago was the last time these 2 teams played, and he had a really solid performance in what was a nice win there for Miami. So the head-to-head data, again, 50% over his last 6 games. However, you do narrow it down. He's cashed it in 3 of his last 4, again, including 2 of 3 this year. So not too shabby. Now, overall this year, the Sixers, they are bottom 10 in the NBA in both points allowed and assists allowed overall. to opposing teams. If you narrow it down to position over the last 7 games, though, the Philadelphia 76ers, they are bottom 10 in the NBA over the last 7 games in terms of points allowed to the shooting guard position. Assists-wise, over the last 7 games, they're actually pretty solid, top half of the league, but their points allowed, and that's where mostly a lot of this is going to come from. Fumbling my words here. Most of this cover is going to come from Tyler Hero's points. Like, look at the last 2 times they played. He finished with 30 points, and he got 7 assists, yes, but the line's 30.5. If he finishes with 30 points again, all we need is 1 or 2 assists, which he should, even against a tough matchup assist-wise, he should still be able to do. Now, the Sixers should be an easy matchup. I said this on Saturday's video with the Timberwolves game, but they actually gave Minnesota a fight for their money. So, you never really know with these teams. They're scrappy. The Sixers, obviously, they're missing their entire starting lineup pretty much. But look at some of the games, the shooting guards, their assist numbers. Monday morning, didn't have coffee. Apologize, guys. Look at their numbers from a scoring and assist perspective versus shooting guards. Anthony Edwards, he had a massive game on Saturday. Now, we had DiVincenzo. He obviously screwed us there. But Anthony Edwards had a massive game. You see quite a bit of green there with shooting guards matching up with Philly. Now, a lot of these guys are some bench players, so take that with a grain of salt. But I do think overall it's a good matchup. And even in the event of a blowout, I think as long as Tyler Hero plays somewhere in the ballpark of 20-25 minutes, he should be able to go ahead and cash this over. He is on the injury report, I believe, still. He didn't play his last game out. He's a game-time decision with a right thigh bruise. There's a chance he doesn't play. If he doesn't play, it gets void. It is what it is. But I think if he plays, he cashes this line. So it's our first player prop in today's slate. All right, guys, and our second player prop in today's slate, sticking with this Heat Sixers game, 7:30 p.m. tip-off, we're going Kelly Ware of the Miami Heat over 9.5 rebounds, which we are getting from -140 over on DraftKings. Word to the wise, guys, hop on this line as soon as you can because it just keeps shifting very fast and very quick. When I started recording, I got it from -130. Now it's -140. The line keeps fluctuating from 10.5 to 9.5, back to 10.5. So right now it's at 9.5. Hop on the line as soon as you possibly can. And it is where it is for good reason. Look at the recent data here for Kelly Ware. Kind of similar to the Tyler Hero prop where the recent data is really strong. The overall data, not so much. 7 of his last 10 games, Kelly Ware has cashed this over, averaging 10.7 rebounds per game over his last 10 games. But like I said, go ahead and stretch the data out to the entire season view for Kelly Ware. A 35% hit rate on the year, 21 out of 60 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 7.23 rebounds per game overall this year. So again, like the Tyler Hero prop, the overall data, not fantastic, but the recent data is pretty solid. Even the last 20 games, 55% hit rate over his last 20 games, averaging 9.7 rebounds per game over his last 20. From a head-to-head perspective here, 2 of his last 3 matchups against, again, he's a rookie, so he only played them 3 times in his career, but 2 of those 3 matchups against Philadelphia, he's cashed the over the last 2 times, averaging 9 rebounds per game across those last 3 matchups. Now, the first one, he had 0 rebounds. He literally played 1 minute in that game, did not have any opportunity, so take that with a grain of salt. His average goes down significantly because of that game, but he didn't even he played, but he didn't really play. We look at the last 2 times they played, 13 rebounds, 14 rebounds. Again, that March 29th, just a little over a week ago, their most recent matchup. So some pretty good rebounding numbers here for Kelly Ware. And even look at the first time they played, or the first time he really played, I should say. He only played 18.8 minutes, less than 20 minutes, and he still had 13 rebounds in that game, which is pretty impressive. The opportunities have certainly been there for him. 16 rebound chances in this one, 19 rebound chances the last time they played. The Sixers overall this year are a bottom 10 rebounding team in general versus centers, though, over the last 7 games. They're also bottom 10. They've definitely been pretty bad with all the injuries they've had. And you look at the numbers, some of these centers are blowing through these lines. Rudy Gobert on Saturday, his line was set at 11.5, -150. He finished with 19 rebounds against the Sixers. Look at Mitchell Robinson, his line 5.5. He finished with 14 rebounds. Kelly Ware, the last time they played, the same line, 9.5, right? He had the exact same line he has now with the same odds even, 14 rebounds. You see a lot of these centers are blowing through these lines when they play Philadelphia. Now, a lot of the misses here are from their bench centers, like Bam Adebayo, a center, but he's playing power forward most of the time. But look, like Kelly Olynyk, over 6.5 rebounds. He had 11. Like, for the most part, you're seeing a lot of green here. Alex Sarr, 7, you got to push there. But a lot of green, and when there are misses, you get, Brook Lopez, the line's 5.5. Yes, he's their starting center, but not really a great rebounder at this point in his career. Orlando Robinson, backup center. I don't even know who Orlando Robinson is. My ultimate point being it's a pretty good matchup, pretty good head-to-head data for Kelly Ware. He's going to play his minutes here. So I like the spot here, over 9.5 rebounds for Ware. And our third and final player prop in today's slate, guys, comes from the Kings-Pistons game, 7 p.m. tip-off. We've got Zach LaVine of the Sacramento Kings over 27.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, which we're getting from -110 odds over on BetMGM. It is available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Guys, if you are still watching the video at this point, please comment 10 down below. We are just about to hit the 10-minute mark in today's video. As always, guys, we appreciate those who watch through each and every single one of our videos. Whether you just come here and take the picks, it's all fine. But of course, those who do stick around and watch through everything I'm talking about, all my rambling and babbling, I appreciate you guys a lot. So comment 10 down below if you are still watching at this point in today's video. But yeah, Zach LaVine over 27.5 points, rebounds, assists, -110 on BetMGM. Unlike the last two player props, the recent data is okay. The overall data is really the more impressive one. So far, over the last 10 games, 5 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 26.4 PRAs per game over his last 10 games. However, looking at his last 2 games out, big performances versus Charlotte, right? 38 PRAs versus Cleveland last night. Let's see what that is. Hold on. Eyesight was going a little weird there. 40 PRAs, another big win for Sacramento against Cleveland. So coming off some pretty big games there, Zach LaVine, again, when overall the recent data not great. If you go ahead and search the data out overall this year, a 66% hit rate on this over, 46 out of 70 games he's cashed the over, averaging 31.54 PRAs per game overall this year. Now, granted, a lot of these cashes came as a member of the Chicago Bulls. Since joining Sacramento, they've been not as consistent, but still enough green in there that I think is worth taking. And the head-to-head data versus Detroit is not too bad. 2 of his last 3 matchups against the Pistons, he's cashed the over. That's a 67% hit rate, averaging 38.67 PRAs per game over those last 3 matchups. Again, take into consideration the fact that all 3 of these matchups versus the Pistons were as a member of the Chicago Bulls, so it does matter a little bit here. And only one of them came from this year, back November 18, 2024. He did cash the over, though, 25.6 rebounds and 5 assists. But the other 2 games came back in early 2023. Now, the matchup is really why I like this player prop. Now, overall, the Pistons, they do rank pretty well defensively versus the shooting guard position this year. But if you do go ahead and narrow it down to the last 7 games, the Pistons are giving up the second most points in the NBA to the shooting guard position over their last 7 games. So it is a pretty good matchup from that standpoint. Yes, their overall numbers are pretty solid, but of late, shooting guards have had a lot of success when they play the Pistons. And if you don't believe me, look at down below here. Look at Desmond Bane. Okay, his line was set at 30.5 PRAs. He finished with 48. Even bench players like Luke Kennard, 10.5. He had 13. Let's keep going down the list here. Jacoby Walter set at 17.5. Finished with 26. Jalen Williams, 28.5. Finished with 31. Kassan Wallace. I mean, keep Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Keep going down the list here. Dante DiVincenzo did not hit. That's okay, though. Anthony Edwards was a very narrow miss. Finished with 35. Donovan Mitchell, 33.5, finished with 46. So you just go down the list here. You do see a lot of green. Mostly their starters usually cash the over. Devin Vassell, 26.5, finished with 33. Minus the one Anthony Edwards miss where he literally missed it by 1 PRA. Shooting guards have been cashing their PRA lines pretty consistently when playing Detroit. So it's a pretty good matchup spot here. And again, the overall data is pretty solid for Zach LaVine. Now, the biggest risk here is the fact that Zach LaVine is playing on the second night of a back-to-back. Again, he just had a really big game against Cleveland last night. However, the overall data this year is pretty solid when Zach LaVine plays on the second night of a back-to-back. A 67% hit rate this year when playing the second night of a back-to-back. 8 out of 12 games, averaging 31.5 PRAs per game overall this year on the second night of back-to-back. So overall, the data is pretty solid. And then to look even further, guys, I also put a filter here because it's also his 3rd game in 4 days. Obviously, they just played Cleveland, and then the game before, I forget who they just played before that. Yeah, they played Charlotte, Cleveland, and now Detroit, all in a 4-day span. This season, when Zach LaVine is playing his 3rd game in 4 days, a 93% hit rate. 14 out of 15 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 33.47 PRAs per game. So I don't know what it is, but the less rest Zach LaVine gets, the better he plays. It's kind of weird. Doesn't really make sense. A lot of players, it's not how it works. But for Zach LaVine, he just plays very well, including Detroit, by the way, guys. This one match he played this year was his 3rd game in 4 days when he played Detroit. So pretty good numbers across the board for -110 odds. I don't think you beat the value there. Really solid player prop. So guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. We'll be back tomorrow with another NBA player prop video, but until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday. Let's have a great final week of the NBA regular season, and of course, let's go ahead and make some money.